You want me to be lively again?
Yeah.
Alright. You want me to be enthusiastic? Alright, here we go. Enthusiasm. Hopefully this thing's recording now. I don't know. I can't tell. But here we go. Now everybody's looking at me. Alright. Let's start off with the Crusades. Here's a quote from Byzantine Emperor Comnenus. And in your coming you will find your reward in heaven, and if you do not come, God will condemn you forever. So obviously already there is a huge religious reason for doing the Crusades. People believe that they could be going into heaven if they went through this. There was a renewed faith because of church reforms. We kind of went over that. We'll go over a few more later. But all this renewed faith kind of, strengthened Christianity again, but then there were some problems in the East. The Muslims in the East started to attack, or the Turks started to attack Constantinople, or the capital of the Byzantine Empire. If you remember, Byzantine Empire is now what was formerly Rome. So they attack Constantinople. They get hammered. I mean, the Turks destroy them basically. The emperor right there, Comnenus, sends out a letter to many people in Europe to help them. One of those people that read this letter was the Pope. It was Pope Urban II. So he calls for a holy war. He calls for a holy war against all Muslim infidels that are occupying the Holy Land in Jerusalem and Palestine. Christians must reclaim the Holy Land from these heretics. That's what he is saying. So already, here's another thing that he does to increase the people wanting to go to this war. He says, if you help, you're going to be rewarded in heaven, or you're going to be condemned forever. So, he's also in favor of this being rewarded in heaven for anybody who goes and fights. I hear the reasons for it. Obviously, religious, personal, and economic gains to come out of war. First thing is religion. And the Pope hopes to unite the Roman Catholic Church with the Eastern Orthodox Church. That's the church in the Byzantine Empire. Also, he wants to destroy the heretics. Obviously, we talked about that. He's also saying if you can receive your place in heaven. And, of course, he is political with it. He is now claiming that he has the power to send Europe to war. Pretty big deal, now he's able to say these things. Basically I'm the one who can send Europe to war. Personal reasons. Second-born sons had a huge personal reason for it, because back then the second-born son would not receive the land after the father died. It went to the first-born son. So many second-born sons were doing it. They wanted glory, they wanted a name for themselves, and they wanted a chance to maybe get land later on. Glory, obviously, for God, and make a name through heroics, and land after they destroyed some of the heretics. Also, many people want to do it to escape feudalism. Remember how brutal feudalism was for peasants? So many peasants fled to go help on this war, holy war. Kings know the power that they can gain. So that's another personal reason through kingships. And we'll talk about that here later on. Golden ticket to heaven. You can receive a golden ticket to heaven if you go and do this. In fact, let's see if I can find it. Basically he says the bearer of this ticket, if you go to heaven, or if you go on this holy war, you will receive a golden ticket to go into heaven. Alright, economic reasons, always economic reasons in war, people. Merchants, especially Italian merchants, want the eastern trade routes. They know how much money that they can make off the eastern trade routes. Loans, bankers, financiers, investors, they want to be able to finance these trips so that they too can join in the trade routes. Oh, there's a little picture. The bearer of this ticket will go to heaven if getting slaughtered on a crusade. Heck yeah, awesome. I'm going to be a knight. Alright, let's talk about the first and second crusades. There's several different crusades. There's my watch. Let's talk about the first and second one. Both attempt to reclaim the Holy Land. In the first crusade, there was armies of knights, thousands upon thousands of knights going to this war, to this battle. Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking something. People of Europe were not prepared. They really weren't. They didn't know the land. They didn't know the strategies of fighting this new war. It was a totally different type of war. Very harsh land, very harsh travel. Thousands of people died on the trips over there before even fighting. There is no leader, clear-cut leader of this. It's basically just a bunch of knights going around trying to get through the try to get to the Holy Land and retake it. Horrible supply lines. You got to have great supply lines in a long, arduous battle, especially that far away. Eventually, they do win back Jerusalem. A bunch of them finally reach Jerusalem and they win it. Jerusalem is basically split into 4 different states, each ruled by a European noble. And honestly, they're already surrounded by the Turks or the Muslims. They're surrounded on 3 sides. The 4th side behind them is the sea, so they're able to escape, some of them through the sea. So they're constantly rebattles to retake Jerusalem. All right, Second Crusade. Constant counterattacks, like I just said. They lose the city of Edessa, and they immediately launch a Second Crusade to win back Edessa. And ironically, it's a horrible thing. They're defeated, and they eventually lose Jerusalem, to Saladin, which is the leader of the Muslim Empire right now. And what he tells people, he says, look, basically he wants to slaughter everybody, but they're able to negotiate not really a truce, but they're able to negotiate. And Saladin says, if you're wealthy enough to pay your escape, you can pay for it, and if not, you're staying. So about 10,000 people weren't wealthy enough to pay for it. So hold on. Hey. So the people that aren't wealthy enough to pay for it go into slavery. All right, recapture again Jerusalem. Let's recapture it. So here's how we're going to recapture it. The Third Crusade. 3 kings help. They got the 3 kings. You got Richard the Lionheart of England, and you have King Philip of France, and you have Emperor Barbarossa or Emperor Frederick from Germany. So you might want to remember those because that's probably going to be on the quiz. Richard the Lionheart. It ends up being Richard the Lionheart, okay? Fred drowns crossing a river. His army falls into disorder. They do poorly against several of the other Muslim armies while they're fighting. Then a lot of them die from the plague. And then Richard and Philip argue over who's going to win. Who's going to get all the spoils of war? Who's going to get all the bounty? Who's going to get all the honor, all the honor and all the glory? Who's going to rule the land? So they have a fight. And Philip gets mad, takes his basketball home, and goes back home. Just kidding, not basketball. So in 1192, like I said, Richard the Lionheart's the only one that really not survives, but he tries to recapture Jerusalem. Several battles between Saladin and Richard, and eventually there's a truce made. Let me go back. Eventually the truce is made, and what Saladin says, any non-armed Christian can visit the Holy Land. So essentially it's a victory in the sense that we can go and visit, even though it's under Muslim control. Fourth Crusade. They want to regain Jerusalem, and they want to take it. They want to take it again. But honestly, politics were involved, both European politics and Byzantine politics. Merchants get heavily involved in this crusade, and honestly, they don't even make it to Jerusalem. They go straight to Constantinople. All the new crusade people in the name that go and fight in the name of Christianity end up going to Constantinople because the merchants provide so much power against them, and they sack Constantinople and they take it over, and they want to have it so that they can basically take over the trade routes. They never even make it to the Holy Land. So, it ends up, it's ironic because the original crusade started because Constantinople needed help, and now they're being sacked because of where they are, their trade routes. Kings now control more, so they want more. They know what they can reach, the East, and all the power and all the wealth in the East, so they want to also start this crusade or be involved in this crusade. And the church remains split. There's still the Eastern Orthodox and still the Roman Catholic. The Inquisition, des Voet, that means God will win it. God God commands it, which is really, should be on the other one, but oh well, never mind, don't worry about it. Origins of the Inquisition. Starts off in Spain. It's called the Reconquista, which means reconquer. They want to reconquer it from the Moors or the Muslims. Spain is under Muslim control, so they want to reconquer it. All right, so the main push is to retake Spain and to Christianize it away from the Spanish Moors. It ends up becoming a heretic hunt. It's basically like just a witch hunt. We don't want to call it that, but they're hunting down all heretics, as you see this picture over here. So what really starts after the Reconquista is what's called the Inquisition. Okay, and it mainly takes place in Spain. It's the most brutal in Spain. It takes all over Europe, but the most brutal in Spain. Their job is to destroy all heretics. It's mainly Muslims, Jews, non-believers, and fake Christians that they want to destroy. So you could, let's say you're being accused of being a heretic. You could come forward to ease the pain, like you weren't going to be tortured as much. And also, if you were going to come in and early and confess, you had to turn in others also. So it starts being I don't want to say a witch hunt, but many people start to turn others in. If they don't, think about it. If you don't like them, hey, they're a heretic, and they're going to be charged with heresy. So, sorry. What's going to happen when you turn yourself in? You're either going to go to prison, lose your property, go to trials, and become tortured. You were going to be tortured until you confessed. Now, once you confessed, you could receive freedom, you could be punished some more, or you're going to be burnt to a crisp at the stake. So there really is no, other than freedom, I guess, if there really is anything good there. Here are some pictures of some of the things that went on. If you look over here, on this one right here, you would be tied up, hung there and stretched out. There's weights down here on the feet, and the whole time you're being asked questions, just being screamed at. Imagine your limbs being ripped out. Here's another one right here, another weight right there, and then it's one arm, and these guys are just over here doing whatever. Here's another one where you'd be put on a wheel, spun around like that. Sometimes they would put fire down here underneath. So there's several different ways that they could torture you. Here's another one over here. They would pour hot oil down there, or hot wax, sometimes down your throat, sometimes hot water. Obviously this person's going to be dead. And if you look right here, they're bound here to the floor, bound here to the wall, and then they would crank this thing up, start cranking it up until your body would start to not split, but start bending backwards. And the whole time you're being stuff poured down your throat. Here's another thing called the rack. Your hands right here, your feet down here, and they would literally just stretch you out. Just keep on cranking on this right here. Here's another one, Donna Isabella. She, what they would do, obviously she's pregnant, didn't matter. They would clamp open your mouth, put a real rough, sharp, brittle cloth down your throat, and water would slowly drop down it and just force that cloth down into your stomach. Horrible stuff. Next slide, last slide here. Long-term effects of the Crusade. Byzantine falls. It's basically no longer the empire it once was. Pope's power is declining, or it does decline, because he's actually the one who called for the Crusades, and they weren't really successful. It helps to end feudalism. Here's how it helps to end it. King's power is growing because all those knights and nobles died during the fighting, and so many people left feudalism. So now the king's power is going to grow. Millions of lives were lost. Religious intolerance still happening today. Intolerance means you don't have beliefs. You don't believe what the other religion's doing. And that still exists today. I mean, you see that all the time now in Iraq and everywhere else. Italian merchants gain wealth, huge amounts of wealth. Money knows no religion, people. They gain the trade routes. They know where they're going to go as far as getting all that wealth. Trade starts to expand again to the east and to China. There's a gain of knowledge, technology, and learning, and it ultimately leads to the Renaissance. All right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.